Welcome to Totem Nation. It's Lambo, 11 Sports Center by Sidelines Sports Network. And I got the top 10 head coaches in 2023. Now, you ain't going to agree with this list, but I think that this is a reasonable list. And with the list that I'm always right, number one is between Bill Belichick and Andy Reid. Um, that's going to be tough. Actually, I'm going to start at number 10. So I'm going to go from 10 to 1. So, as number 10 head coach in the top 10 for 2023, I'm going to take Brian Daboll of the New York Giants. Now, Brian Daboll is going to be in his second year as the head coach, but, he has an impressive year. Their overall offense expected in points added per play jumped from 0.169 to or negative 0.169 to 0.15 from 2021 to 2022. The running game was very, very successful with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And it's basically the same players that they had for the past year. The only difference is Daboll as he added more talent to the team in 2023. Like I said, he's a head coach who can raise both the floor and sitting with the roster no matter what. And they're rebuilding a winning window. Those characteristics are a great head coach. But here's the question that Brian Daboll is going to struggle with. They had not signed Saquon Barkley to a long-term deal. So there's a possibility along the Giants organization that Saquon Barkley will possibly sit out the season. So Brian Daboll, the GM, you better re-sign Saquon Barkley to a long-term deal. Like I said, the Giants last year, they lost in the divisional round against the Eagles. So they gave Daniel Jones all the money, but how you going to pay Daniel Jones and not pay Saquon Barkley? That's weird to me. So I'm going to take Brian Daboll is number 10 as top head coaches. Number 9, this is very low. Sean McDermott. Now, why is Sean McDermott at number 9? So you got McDermott and Brandon Beane. They both receive contract extensions until 2027. But McDermott and Josh Allen rise to the MVP level is a big reason why the team shouldn't want a change to its head coach and quarterback anytime soon, which is not going to happen because Buffalo has been successful at reaching the AFC Championship and the AFC divisional rounds as well. They failed to reach the Super Bowl, yes, but they have all the talent with Stephon Diggs, Corey Davis. They have all those good guys. You have Dawson Knox. Despite having all the talent to do, it is hard to win in this league, especially in the postseason. But Sean McDermott gives the Bills the type of list to go each season after 4 straight double-digit winning seasons and 4 straight consecutive playoff appearances since he's been the head coach in 2017. So the Bills have been competitive. They've been aggressive. With Sean McDermott, they only had one losing season. So they had one losing season back in 2018 when they went 6-10. So out of his 6-7 years of Sean McDermott being the head coach, he's missed the playoffs one time. But the only thing is that the Buffalo Bills are inconsistent in the run game. Number 8, as my top head coaches, Nick Sirianni. Now, Nick Sirianni is a young guy. He was a former offensive coordinator, I think, from the Colts. Why is he number 8? Well, second-year head coach. I'm not really skeptical of the Eagles. We'll see how good they are this year. Now, last year they were 14-3. They competed for a Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs by 3 points. But was everybody questioning, you fired Doug Peterson for Nick Sirianni? Not really. We didn't know who the guy was. His press conference was terrible last year, but I think it paid off. Nick Sirianni has proven, and then Doug Peterson also has proven in Jacksonville took him to the playoffs as well. So he's the right man for the job. He's played a huge role in the Jalen Hurts from a fringe starter to a legit MVP candidate now after leading Philadelphia to the Super Bowl this past season. So Jalen Hurts, he is that guy. He's playing at a high level. We'll see how the Eagles do despite the Super Bowl loss. How good do I think the Eagles will be? I'm not sure because normally when you make it to the Super Bowl the year before, you suck next year just like the Rams did when they won the Super Bowl and they sucked. The Bengals were different. They went to the Super Bowl and went back to the AFC Championship game. So do I see the Eagles winning 14 games this year? No, maybe 11, maybe 10 wins. I don't know about 14. So we'll see how that goes. The postseason, they did a very good job. They were Average per play, they were one of the best in the league as well, along with the Chiefs. So the only concern that I have is their defense. Their defense was all right and top tier until the Super Bowl, but of course nobody can stop the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see how that goes along with that. But the Eagles do play by New England Patriots in the first game, and they will take an L. Number 7, as my top 10 head coaches, Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson is a top 10 lock for the coaching list. First, he was the head coach of the legendary Eagles team that won the Super Bowl with 2017 with Nick Foles, who earned an elite 91.9 pass rating for the playoff run and a 62.2 passing grade for his career since. But Peterson also has the guru quarterback and Trevor Lawrence to revive his career since the Urban Meyer firing. Lawrence passing grade jumped from 61.4 to 76.1 in year one of Meyer to year one of Doug Peterson, which included a run where Lawrence was 88.5% passing grade on week 9, which was ranked second to Joe Burrow. How do I feel about Jacksonville Jaguars? Well, Calvin Ridley is back. Whew. Calvin Ridley is back. They still have receivers. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will compete for a playoff spot. They were only a few plays away from beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the second round. So we'll see how that goes. I think Jacksonville Jaguars will be very, very competitive. And Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence, that head coaching quarterback relationship, he won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, so that determines he can win with anybody. Trevor Lawrence is a special talent from the University of Clemson. We'll see how that goes. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will be competitive. Number 6, I'm going to take Sean McVay from the Rams. The reason why he's number 6 in my book is the Rams franchise, and I think McVay should be in a spot over a handful of worthy other coaches. But as Sean McVay, in his first 2 seasons as head coach, he became to a spotlight and turning Jared Goff-led offense into a group that ranked top 10 in rushing and passing and overall expected points per play. The Los Angeles Rams did lose the Super Bowl in 2018, but they won the Super Bowl in 2021. It's been an incredibly impressive 6 years for Sean McVay as the head coach. This year could be a major factor in how much longer he'll have coaching with the headset after he meant to retire this past season, but he decided to come back. I guess he was burned out because Sean McVay had his first losing season as the head coach after they went to the Super Bowl. So in 2021, the Rams went to the Super Bowl, and then it turned out they were 5-12. They had a lot of starting quarterbacks. They had Matthew Stafford. He got hurt. Then they had Baker Mayfield. And then it is, oh my God. I mean, the Rams were a mess last year. Do I expect the Rams to bounce back? Yes, I do. Rams will bounce back. They will compete for the playoffs. Matt Stafford, you're talking about a healthy Matthew Stafford. You still have Allen Robinson in wide receiver. You still have Cooper Kupp. You still got the running backs. No OBJ would be pretty tough. No Jalen Ramsey is going to be pretty tough. But you still have Aaron Donald, defensive end. So the Rams will be competitive. I'm going to put Sean McVay number 6, which is correct. Number 5, John Harbaugh. The Baltimore Ravens have been very, very, very inconsistent. But you can't keep John Harbaugh out of the top 5 as the top 10 NFL head coaches. So you look at the postseason lack of success since winning the Super Bowl in 2012, and it's pushed him down a little bit further. His team is 2-5 in the playoffs since winning a Super Bowl in 2012, but the Ravens have made the playoffs in 4 of the past 5 seasons. In the modern NFL, the word says that can't run the ball anymore. The Ravens have been number 1 in the league since 2018. They've been staying creative and innovative as they play strengths, earning 0.0092 expected points added per rush over a span. In second place is where the Green Bay Packers are 0.051, which shows the Ravens aren't just better than everybody else on the running game. They are far, way better. They also rank 6th in the league in EPA per play allowed on defense at negative 0.059. So I'm sold on the Ravens defense. Ravens defense has been very successive. I think you have second-year defensive coordinator in Mac McDonald, who I think was a former defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh from Michigan as well. So I like the Ravens, but they're going to struggle again in the postseason. They got a new offensive coordinator. They got an offensive coordinator from Georgia, so we'll see how that goes along the lines. So what do I see in the Ravens? The Ravens are going to make the playoffs. The problem is they can't finish, and they gave Lamar Jackson the money. And will Lamar Jackson be healthy? Because other than that, you don't have really other quarterback. You signed OBJ, but how effective will your passing game be will be my concern. Number 4, I'm going to take Kyle Shanahan. The only problem with it is Kyle Shanahan has choked 2 Super Bowls. He choked one in 2016 as the offensive coordinator, which the Atlanta Falcons had not been the same franchise since. And he choked the Super Bowl in 2019 as well. And I think they choked the game in the 2021 NFC Championship game. Now that it's out of the way, that the rumors that Kyle Shanahan came with a big one, the truth is that Shanahan is one of the best offensive minds in the league for a half a decade. It continues to be since 2019. The Niners had the second highest cumulative offensive grade, which is only behind the Kansas City Chiefs at 91.9. They ranked 7th in the league in EPA over that play span. The reason for Shanahan being high on this list comes down to he makes the offense look like nothing in the NFL, or how easy he makes it. Nothing demonstrates what he was able to do this past season with Brock Purdy at the number 3 quarterback, and they took him to the NFC Championship after he hurt his elbow. I think, in my opinion, I wanted the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. So I'm very excited for 49ers. Yes, the 49ers have pieces, but Shanahan is the offensive chief that turns in good ingredients into a perfect meal. It's also noteworthy that he had vast and successful coaching tree with Robert Saleh, who was the head coach of the Jets, Mike McDaniel, who's the offensive coordinator, who is now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. D'Amico Ryans, who is now was the defense coordinator this past season, is now a head coach for the Houston Texans. And you have Mike LaFleur, who rose to be top candidates for promotion all under Shanahan in San Francisco. How do I feel about the 49ers? Now, the 49ers, I think it'll go with Brock Purdy to start the season. They got rid of Jimmy G. Jimmy G is gone. I'm not sure if they're going to get another crack at Trey Lance. He broke his ankle. So I think if I'm the 49ers, I pick Brock Purdy to start. I think Brock Purdy is a very better quarterback than Trey Lance. But like I said, they could use a 2 quarterback system. You never know. But I was very, very, very impressed with Brock Purdy. Number 3, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has not missed the postseason. Um, he has not had the recent success in the postseason than other coaches. He hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. Um, but if every coach was available for a hire, Tomlin's name should be the first one on your mind. And not that he didn't miss the playoffs, he has not had a losing record. This man knows football. Mike Tomlin was a former defensive coordinator for, I think, the Minnesota Vikings before becoming the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2007 after Bill Cowher retired. His Steelers have never finished last in the division. He finished third 3 times and never finished the season with a sub 500 record, which means unexpected injuries, the struggles of rebuilding a roster, bad luck, and anything else in the sport. Those at teams that have not derailed Mike Tomlin from making the Steelers a winner. I think, in my opinion, I think the Steelers, they're up and down. They have Kenny Pickett as starting quarterback. You have Najee Harris. You have good receivers. The defense is up and down. So what I think of the Steelers suck. I don't like the Steelers. I think the Steelers will miss the playoffs again. But Mike Tomlin will not have a losing record because Mike Tomlin has been a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers for about 17, 18 seasons. Has not had a losing record, but they have missed the playoffs this past season as well. So we'll see how it goes. I think they'll miss the playoffs again because you have a very, very tough division, and the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns. Now, I don't think they need to worry about the Browns, but you got to worry about the Bengals and the Ravens, which they weren't able to really beat those teams last year as well. So that's number 3. Number 2 is going to shock America. I got to put Bill Belichick in the Patriots number 2. And there's reasons why I put Bill Belichick at number 2. So Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. You can put him anywhere in the top 3, but you can't have him lower than that, despite some of New England's recent struggles. Belichick was the head man for the greatest and longest dynasty the league has ever seen. Bill Belichick was hired in 2000. He drafted Tom Brady in 2001. Sometimes it's hard to separate Belichick and the head coach and Belichick, the general manager. He's been in New England since 2000, and since there have been some head-scratching roster moves that I don't like, But I say the only one that makes him more impressive that he's won more Super Bowls than sub 500 seasons since he's arrived with the Patriots. Playoffs included, the Patriots have a 91.3 overall defensive grade over the past 10 seasons. Bill Belichick has only missed the playoffs 4 times. So he missed the playoffs in 2002, when they went 9-7. He's missed the playoffs in 2008 when they went 11-5 with Matt Castle. He missed the playoffs in 2020 with the 7-9 record with Cam Newton, and then this past season we missed the playoffs at 89 with he hiring Matt Patricia to be the offensive coordinator, which is terrible. So Bill Belichick, he's only missed the playoffs 4 times, but everybody's looking at the Patriots. I think Patriot fans and Patriot hitters are being very, very, very impatient because, we hadn't won the Super Bowl since Brady left and all that mess. But remember, we made the playoffs without Tom Brady. So at first, we couldn't make the playoffs. But, out of the past 3 seasons, Belichick has missed the playoffs. Like I said, he only missed the playoffs 4 times. He's had a losing record 3 times out of 23 seasons. So we'll see how that goes and see how it remains along the line. But number 1 in my book, I'm going to put Andy Reid. Andy Reid just won a Super Bowl. Andy Reid is one of the best offensive minds as a head coach. He has Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes didn't make Reid who he was as a head coach. He enhanced him. He elevated him. A great head coach and quarterback relationship. No, Andy Reid is not perfect. No head coach, but since he took over in 2013, he has 129-52, including the postseason, with a cumulative offensive grade of 93.6 in those 10 years. He has 2 Super Bowls to show for it, and since 2018, the Chiefs' 0.241 expected points added per pass is the highest mark by a country mile, which with the Chargers were second at 0.129. The Kansas City Chiefs had the most explosive offense. Like I said, you got Pat Mahomes, who was the MVP of the league. He's explosive. He's one of the best quarterbacks right now in the NFL. They won the Super Bowl with no Tyreek Hill. So that means Andy Reid means he can win with anybody, all receivers. They have a good defense. They still have Steve Spagnuolo, who was famous for shutting down, the 2007 Patriots offense with that 5-2 defense. So Andy Reid's number 1 on top of the list. It's not a surprise. How do I feel about the Chiefs? I think the Chiefs will compete for a Super Bowl again. Don't be surprised. Pat Mahomes is on top of his game. He already has 2 rings. He has a $500 million contract, but he said it's all about rings rather than money. He already got 2 rings with that $500 million contract that he has signed. So yes, that is my top 10 NFL head coaches of 2023. At number 10, Brian Daboll. Number 9, Sean McDermott. Number 8, Nick Sirianni. Number 7, Doug Peterson. Number 6, Sean McVay. Number 5, John Harbaugh. Number 4, Kyle Shanahan. Number 3, Mike Tomlin. Number 2, Bill Belichick. And number 1, Andy Reid. So that is my top 10 head coaching in 2023. The NFL will be competitive. We'll see how that goes. This is Lambo's World of Sports, presented by Sidelines Sports Network. Tune in for more content.